What's up, everybody? John Eric Polai here with My MMA News, and today's guest just picked up his first career UFC win in his UFC debut. Joined today by Billy Goff. Billy, nice to see you, man, and congrats getting that first one out of the way nice and early.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No problem at all, man. So let's start with that, just the win itself. What were the emotions like afterwards of being able to celebrate that? Obviously, a long time coming. I know you've been through a lot in the lead up to this point.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's been a lot. Like there was just a lot going into it, a lot of emotions, a lot of work, a lot of time, and for it to just go the way it did, to just get the first round finish, it was perfect. Couldn't ask for any more, and it was just like it just felt so good.
And as we talk about, emotions, obviously that's a very happy emotion right there, picking up that first win like that. But what were the emotions like kind of, in the lead up just to all of this here? I know you had a few knee surgeries, not the easiest thing when you're being sidelined from the sport and you have to have surgeries and everything else. Just talk about what that was like dealing with that and overcoming all that and getting yourself together for this big moment in time now.
Yeah, absolutely. It was hard. It was frustrating, especially watching other people just keep staying busy, especially people who got into the UFC the same day I did, people on the Contender Series with me, watching them get 3, 4, 5 fights deep, and I'm just sitting here twiddling my thumbs. It's definitely frustrating and a little discouraging, but I was able to keep myself excited. I still just picturing myself making that debut, making that first walk, and I was still excited. It gave me a chance to really focus on recovery and being a little more patient with myself and like the journey and not trying to rush. And that was just a great lesson for myself. So even with all the frustrations, there was a lot that I learned and a lot of good that came out of it. So it kind of worked out.
Definitely did work itself out, that's for sure. One thing I wanted to ask too, this was according to the broadcast from the UFC that they put out. They had mentioned that you were working with a mental coach from the UFC Performance Institute in Vegas there. Just talk about that, what that's been like working with the mental coach, especially dealing with everything that you had to deal with having those knee surgeries and being sidelined. I'm sure they played a major part in keeping your mind sharp and being ready to go for this.
Yeah, absolutely. Makai, he held it down. He's my boy. No, it's like even outside of by the time I started working with him, I had already kind of recovered because I started working with him after I went out to the PI to start training and get a bunch of testing done. And at that point, I had already recovered from the knee surgeries. Physically, it was still there's pains and aches and soreness and whatnot, and I lost the strength a little bit. But I was able to start training. So like my mind, surgery's done. I'm done. I'm going for it. Maybe rushed it a little bit, but doesn't matter. That'll matter when I'm 40. Um, but I started working with him after that, and it's been a long time coming. And I'm happy at all. That's probably the biggest thing out of the fight. Out of everything in the fight, like it was a great performance, great finish. Um, the 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 biggest improvement I made in this fight was my mental state going in. I've always been very nervous and kind of a little too overwhelmed, and I couldn't think as clearly. It wasn't as present in the cage. But I remember like before even the walkout, the nerves were gone. Usually when you're fighting, you're like when I first started my very first fight, I was nervous going into the second round. And then after that, it's usually, all right, I get hit once and the nerves are gone. And then eventually you get to this point, like, all right, now I'm walking out. And like I'm stepping in the cage, nerves are gone. And now this one, it was, all right, we're about to make the walk for like I'm about to leave the back room. And nerves are gone. I was good. And I was able to hit like a couple mental resets before the fight started. I was thinking about the game plan, and I was just that's the best part of it. And because of the all the mental work I did, I was able to do that.
And that's incredible that you're able to, have such a strong mind and be able to do that. Because I know a lot of fighters, I've been doing this job now for a few years, and a lot of fighters always do have those pre-fight jitters. So it's, pretty cool seeing that you're able to kind of put a lot of that behind you. I do want to get into some of these fight specifics now. Before we actually get into the X's and O's of the fight, I guess let's start here. Obviously, fights were in Singapore. far away from Connecticut. So talk about the travel, what that was like, how you approached it. I know fighters, when they're traveling, cutting weight, very difficult thing. Just how did you approach all of that?
Well, luckily we left early enough. We left Saturday night, and it was 23 hours of flying. Left Saturday night, got there Monday morning with a 12-hour time difference, which actually kind of worked out perfectly because we slept a bunch on the plane. And you get up Monday morning and you just go, and there's no really switch up. I was pretty tired that night, that Monday night, but it was after that I was good. The and I was able to when I was traveling, my weight cut really wasn't the only thing was no carbs, but I was good otherwise. So it wasn't too strenuous of a trip, I guess. The It could have been worse. Could have been a lot worse. The only thing is, it'd be nice if I was in like first class. I'd be able to sleep a little better. I ain't got the money for that. The But it wasn't too bad. I it's And weight cut's kind of nice because it like that pulls away from the nerves. You always get nervous to like up leading up to it. There's nothing you're gonna do. You just get nervous. Humans get nervous. But being in the weight cut, traveling, being busy with all of that, that helps too. Takes your mind away. It was, and honestly, a big thing about all the traveling while I was going through it, it's like, okay, I get to go see another part of the world, all because of these. Just I get my hands are bringing me across the world, and that's really cool. It's the first time I left the country, so I was excited for that. But overall, it wasn't really too much of an issue.
I say it sounds like it's been one great experience here with this first UFC appearance and getting the win and enjoying the travel and everything. Another thing that was a first for you, I guess, would be the first UFC Fight Week. And I always explain this to people watching in case they're not familiar with it. Fight Week in the UFC, different than a lot of other promotions, and it's kind of a very cool moment, like the first time you go through it, because you get to pick up your fighter kit that has your name on it, and you get to do a media day, and there's usually poster signings, and of course the weigh-ins, of course for a show like this, a ceremonial weigh-in. So a lot of fun stuff that you get to experience for the first time. What was all of that like, getting to experience it, and was there something that stuck out throughout the course of the week that you really, really enjoyed?
Um, hmm. I'm trying to think of something that stuck out the most. Um, Everything was done very like they put a lot of work into it. It's all ran very smoothly, and you do have a lot of resources going through the fight week, which normally you don't get otherwise. Like I've been through, like Bellator has something similar, but they don't. Like the UFC has nutritionists, they have massage. Like I was able to get a massage, like get certain things worked on. Ah! I was able to get certain things worked on by the PT team while I was out there throughout the week, which was huge. That was like honestly that was the coolest part. I was able to work with the PT team, like, oh, like this is tight or this is tight, and they fix it, and it's like, oh man, I feel great going into this fight. There's nothing wrong. Having nutrition teams and like, oh, they give you meals so that your weight cuts easier. Like, hey, eat this much, drink this much at this time, and they help a ton. So it was one of the smoothest fight weeks I've ever had, and mostly because of all the resources that they offer. It was surreal to kind of walk through do the ceremonial weigh-ins and do even just the weigh-ins, the media day. It's kind of all surreal. Like none of it really hit me until I was walking out, and I remember looking up at the banner that goes around the stadium, had my name on it, and it said UFC, and I was like, man, that's pretty cool.
That is a cool moment, and the UFC. It's fair to say they are the best at doing all that type of stuff like that. So it's awesome that you get to have that experience. You're gonna have a lot more of those experiences, of course, coming up. But let's for now get into this actual action of this fight here. I guess we'll start here. Pretty obviously, the broadcast team was pointing this out a ton. Seemed like you were having successes with the leg kicks, but every time you threw the leg kicks, he was able to counter. Just talk kind of about, kind of the game plan coming out, how you were able to stand in there tough. Obviously, every time he countered, even though you're getting hit, Didn't seem to bother you at all. Obviously, you were very composed inside of the octagon that night.
Yeah, no, I mean, I got a fucking chin, dude. I could take some shots. But Felder called it like I was throwing naked kicks and I was getting hit for it. So that's and I already know that. Like I know not to throw naked kicks, but sometimes like I was doing that inside leg kick the whole camp, and it was just I don't know why I was throwing them naked. Just it is what it is. I think the biggest thing was, and I've had this issue before. Working on it and got to really prioritize it more now. Not something that I prioritized as much as I should have maybe. But the biggest thing was circling. We were going to get outside that lead leg. And I would circle. If you watch, I circle a little bit, get outside that lead leg. And then he didn't follow me or chase me. He kind of just backed up a little bit, or he would just kind of pivot towards me. And so it kind of put me in a position to where I can just keep circling around him, or I can just go right back in front of him, which I would just, all right, circle, line up, back, just get back in front of him. And then I would sit there. I have a bad habit of sitting in front of somebody, and that's how you get hit. Even though I was getting hit, my hands were up a lot and I was blocking a lot of the shots. There was one of the naked kicks I threw, there was one where my head gets shoved back off of one of his twos. And that was not a good shot to eat. But for the most part, my hands were up. And the biggest issue is just not moving. I was sitting still in front of him. I would circle. And when I was circling, he wasn't hitting me. But then I would get back in front of him, sit still, and get hit. So it's little things, like things that we find here, things that we find there, work on them, get better. And then next time, don't do it.
Well, hey, obviously through all that, you did find the big key to success there, and it was that body shot. That knockout was so clean. Just take everybody through that, what you saw that led to that moment in time. And it's not every day that I mean, we've seen body shot KOs, but I mean, that was as clean as it gets. It doesn't get much better than that.
No, that I love looking at that video. It's I was just like, and Paul Felder called it. I was like, I didn't really sit on it super hard, but it was fast and it was great time, and I got his attention up a little bit, but it wasn't shit that I saw. I didn't see anything. My coach did, my Dexter. He told me to drop it to the body, and I didn't see why, but he just said it, so I do what he says. And so I dropped it to the body, and it lucked out perfectly. And of course, you always want to head body head kind of thing. So you tap him up here. That's why I threw the jab, and because that's the reason why he called it, was because his hands were coming up. His hands were coming up every time I would throw at him. His hands would come up. So he, which is a good thing. Like you want to protect yourself, but you don't want to open up your body. Like you want to stay hunched down so you can protect your body and your face at the same time. But he was coming up. He was standing tall, and then he was doing that a bunch. So Dexter said, just drop to the body, pop the hands up, boom.
And obviously, great performance there. Now, afterwards, on the microphone, very special moment there. I know your teammate had lost his sister. You paid tribute to her afterwards. We saw the emotions on everybody around. Just talk about what that was like, being able to have that, emotional moment on the microphone and being able to take it all in with your team there.
Yeah, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my team. And they make tons of sacrifices. Just coming out here alone. Like my teammates don't ask me for money. Like I pay my teammates because they're doing a lot for me. I pay my coach. But they don't ask for it, and it's a testament to their willingness to sacrifice for me. And they already, by coming out for the trip alone, is a sacrifice, being away from your friends and family. And he lost his sister, and he missed her service because of the trip. And that's something I didn't mention. I wish I would have, just because it elevates the sacrifice that he made. Like it shows how much more it was. And he's been there for every fight. He's cornered me every time. And my striking is as good as it is because of him. Like I came in as a wrestler, had dog shit striking, and he's got a fantastic striking. He's made my striking what it is. My coach has taught me it, and he refined it with his skill. Um, and to be able to just take a moment and be able to, hey, like someone who's been making sacrifices since the beginning made an even bigger sacrifice in this camp. And I couldn't, it's not enough. Like I can't, there's nothing I can do to repay all the sacrifices he's made for me.
And like I said, it was a very, very special moment there on the mic, and obviously you could see, just the emotions behind it all. So, one of those very touching things, kind of, you feel like will always be kind of remembered throughout your career. It'll be one of those big moments after the first win like that to be able to do that there. I guess with that being said, though, what is next for you? Is MSG in the cards? I know you're pretty big on wanting to get a Northeast show in there. You can get to do Boston. What's kind of the roadmap like for the rest of the year?
We'll see. See what the UFC has to offer. I'd like to fight. So with like timeline wise, whether MSG happens or not, I'd like to fight around MSG. So like around November and then around February. That's the plan. Get so I can get 3 done and then take a little time off and get 3 done next year. 3 a year is perfect. Um, Maybe more, maybe less. We'll see how things go. But get out. MSG is the goal. It's a big card. It's a very big, like it's a very well known stadium. So a lot of people want to get on it. The chances of me getting on it aren't that high, especially because it's probably full. So, but last minute, short notice, cancellations, things can happen. We'll see. But worst case scenario, I'm fighting before the end of the year somewhere in the States.
All right. Well, with that being said, I just got one last thing for you here today before we wrap things up here. Your nickname, right? Billy Ray Goff. Anything to do with Billy Ray Cyrus or no?
No. That's my name. My name
Oh,
is
no
Billy.
kidding.
All my like most people like, and I don't know for too many, but most people their name like when they say, "Oh, my name's Billy," their name's actually William. No. My name's Billy Ray Goff on my birth certificate. That's my name.
No kidding. Okay, I was wondering because obviously when you came out, obviously all the graphics just said Billy Goff. So when they said Billy Ray, I thought it was like a nickname and poking fun at Billy Ray Cyrus. So that's your name. Are you gonna have the UFC put all 3 on your fight kit or no?
I plan to. That's the plan. I messed up because I've been wanting to like go as like my as Billy Ray Goff. And I'm always used to telling people that like Billy Ray was always a family thing when I was a kid. Nobody else called. I would always say Billy. So now, but my coach says Billy Ray is cooler, so go with that. Uh, so I'm trying to make the habit of like, hey, Billy Ray, Billy Ray. So I told the UFC after I did the weigh-ins, I was like, hey, just so you guys know, this is what I wanted to do. So they kind of had a last minute change. So that it'll probably be different for the next one, but this one I'm good. It is what it is.
Well, I can tell you, as somebody that also goes by, first, middle, last name, and John Eric Poli, very glad to see somebody else is using the middle name and stuff as well there. Anyway, man, congrats again on the win. It was a great moment. It's been a great conversation here today, too. Really appreciate the time. Last thing before you head out for the day, we're going to give you the last words. You want to go ahead and plug your social media. If you have management, sponsorships, all that good stuff that you got to plug, any shout outs, take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a huge thank you to my team, my family, my friends for getting me here. I wouldn't be here without them. All the love and support is huge. It means a lot to me. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter, Billy and Goff. Follow my team's page, Team Dexter Valley Tudo. Thank you to you for your time. Thank you to my sponsors, Cardboard Kids, Nummy's Bakery, and Accelerated Athletics. And have a great day.